You don't go to a faqih, you don't go to a master of fiqh, you don't go to a muhaddis to purify and cure your spiritual problems. You go to the awliyaullah to purify them. You go sit with the awliyaullah. They will cure your spiritual problems. They will see the spiritual problem inside you and they will give you the medicine that you need. That's the duty of the shaykh. And in these chains, because the spiritual legacy was passed on in the Chishti chain, not so long ago, there was one great shaykh that lived. His name was Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Sa Al-Azhari rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. Wallahi, I only wish that I ever had the chance of meeting them. You know, there's the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. When you see a man of Allah, you want to know what spirituality is. One aspect of spirituality is this. When you see a man of spirituality, of true spirituality, who has chained back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who has tackled and fought his ego, who has done justice to himself and done justice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's done what he needed to do. When you see that individual, he reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اتَّقُوا فِرَاسَةُ الْمُؤْمِنِ فَإِنَّهُ يَنْظُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. These ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all indicate towards a man who has spiritually refined himself. He's spiritually connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the great imams that came, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, these came in the first 3 generations. These were all spiritual masters. These were individuals, you know, if you was to read about these people, Imam Shafi'i, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, by the age of 7 years old, he was Hafiz of the Quran. By the age of 7 years old. Today, 7-year-olds are interested in going onto Facebook. They spend more time on Facebook. Today, we spend more time on Facebook than we do reading the Quran, than we do remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you had the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa, who started his education at the age of 18, 19, 20 years old. Mostly the same age as yourselves. Imam A'azam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi was who? Who was he? He was that individual that for 40 years, from Salatul Isha till Salatul Fajr, he had the same wudu and he would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For 40 years. That means if you study Hanafi law, you will know that Imam Abu Hanifa said if an individual falls asleep, his wudu breaks. Imam Azam for 40 years did not sleep from Salatul Isha till Salatul Fajr. Spiritual, though during the day they were busy teaching the people about how to sort the outside out, and during the night they were spiritually sorting their insides out. This is why Imam Ahmad used to say, when I wanted to gain spiritual knowledge, spirituality, I would sit in the company of the likes of Bishr ibn Harith al-Hafi. I used to sit in the company of Bishr Hafi rahmatullah alayh. And his murideen, his students used to say, oh Imam Ahmad, why do you sit with somebody who doesn't wear good clothes, who doesn't have the dunya in him? And he said, this is exactly the purpose of life. During the day I tell you how to live your life, but at night I go and sit with him. I sit behind the door, I sit in another room from Imam Bishr Hafi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, and I cry. He brings tears into my eyes. He humbles me. He makes me a humble individual. And these are the people that we need to sit with. And you find that in the modern time, in this modern era, go back only 20 years, the name of Huzur Ziyal Ummat rahmatullah alayh stands out. An individual who mastered his external and then mastered his internal as well. A spiritual master who was not only just a spiritual master, but he was an alim of the deen. He was a scholar of the deen. This name, Ziyal Ummah, this name you always wonder why. Who is this individual? The one that is representing this individual in the day and age that we live in now is the blessed son who is sitting there right now. This is an individual who is continuing the works of his father, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh. And we need to spiritually attach ourselves to these people. We need to get involved in these chains, in these turuq, and we need to get spiritual guidance. Sometimes you look at them and you can see it on their face. They put a smile on your face. You have difficulty, you see them, they smile at you, your whole life changes. We need to, now you are sitting here, you need to contemplate and ponder that I need spiritual guidance, I need spiritual food. And for that, I need to go to spiritual masters. And the spiritual master, you are honored, wallahi al-azim, you are honored that you sit in the presence of these individuals. You are honored to sit in the presence. Even at this moment in time, they will be spiritually feeding you. They will have tawajjuh upon your life. They will have nigah upon your life. And the work that they have done, you only realize the greatness of an individual once he leaves the dunya. Imam Bukhari in his time, there were great muhaddis at that time. Muslim was around at that time. Imam Tirmizi was there. Imam Nisa'i was there. But after 1400 years, after 1200 years, after 1100 years, you see that Imam Bukhari's name still lives long. And Huzur Ziyal Ummah rahmatullah alayh, after their physical departure from this dunya, you see that they are still, their legacy continues till now. And it continues to the students, to the works, to the foundations that are setting up. Just look in Pakistan and see how many madaris there are there. How many institutes have been set up by one individual's vision. And that vision is continuing now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Allah's people go, Allah Almighty puts other Allah peoples in those places to continue the work. And honored is that individual who continues the work of Huzur Ziyal Ummah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. So you are sitting here to take spiritual food, and you are honored that you sit in the presence of a spiritual master who will give you that food that you need. You should leave this spiritual camp feeling spiritually uplifted. You should feel a change in your heart. If you haven't changed after these 2 days, you have essentially, you have put the dunya outside this village or this town or this garden that you're staying in. It's outside. If it was with me, I would only use my mobile phone when I need to. I wouldn't use my mobile phone otherwise. I would keep a tasbih in my hands and try to stay in wudu at all times. Try to stay in wudu. This ain't a chill out joint. You have plenty of chill out joints. You can do that in your hometowns. You're here to cut yourself off from the dunya. You know, in spiritual language, it's called zuhud, where you live in the dunya, but the dunya doesn't live in you. And how did the Sahaba used to spiritually refine themselves? They would practice khalwat. They would stay away. They would go into seclusion. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam used to do khalwat. They used to go into seclusion. Despite all this is just the introduction. I know it's taken 20 minutes just to do a little introduction on what it is. The actual topic that I've been given, Facebook or Fitna book. Many people go on Facebook, but they don't even know what Facebook is. When did Facebook begin? How many people are using Facebook? What are the purposes of Facebook? What are the pros and the cons? That's what we need to look at. And then thereafter, again, this is only my assessment, my understanding of it. You don't have to agree with me on any of these points. Let me make that clear now. You can debate these points. These are debatable points. These are not stated facts. It's just a theory that I come up with last night when I was thinking about what I was going to mention today. So, if we look at what Facebook is, I'll give you a lesson on Facebook. The individual who made it was a university student, Harvard University. A couple of them got together. They didn't want to make Facebook first. They were going to make something called FaceSpace or along those lines. Because it got spread around American universities, it became known, and then they thought, you know what, let's begin something here, known as Facebook. Started in 2004. Picked up numbers. You know how many people use Facebook now? Over 845 million people around the world used Facebook. That's 845 million people have Facebook accounts and spend time on Facebook. In technological terms, it's a phenomenon, wallahi. It's amazing that how so many people, one person sitting here can connect with somebody in Australia, he can have a conversation with somebody in America, just sitting here. How technology has advanced. Go back 40 years ago, Facebook never existed. Televisions never existed. You didn't have these things 50, 60 years ago. But as time has gone on, technology has advanced, we moved on in time. We are now given a social network where we can socially talk to people. It starts as a social network, but what does it turn out to become? How do people begin to see it? It becomes something that is now known as a fitna. It can become a fitna if you do not control or handle it. To many young people, it's an addiction. People are obsessed with Facebook. There's one individual, he had a child, and you know what he named it? Like. Because after the Facebook like button, wallahi, it's true. You see it, you read it on the internet. That's how people have become obsessed. They wake up in the morning, the first thing they do, log into Facebook, even before breakfast, even before brushing their teeth, even before saying Bismillah, waking up, Facebook, right? What's the latest notification that I've got? Who sent me this message? How many friend requests do I have? It's an obsession that we're living in. It's become an obsession to many people, especially young people. 845 million. I believe it's the biggest country in the world. Facebook is the biggest country in the world now. It has the most people on it. There are more people on Facebook than there are in America. That's how big it is. And they're all over. People all over gather together and they sit there and they talk and they do all kinds of things, which I will look into. And you know how much it's worth in terms of revenue? 3.7 billion. 3.7 billion pounds. That's how much it's worth. Dollars. That's how much it's worth. That is expensive business, man. That is serious business for these individuals. But for them, what is it? It was just something, social networking amongst American universities now is a global phenomenon. Everyone is using it. Even the biggest shuyukh are using it. Even, you know, if you go on Facebook, who has the biggest following? Does anyone know? I went away and I typed in all the biggest pop stars' names, the celebrities. You know, Eminem has over 50 million followers. Who? Jay-Z. Who's Eminem? Those who are buzurgs won't know who Eminem is, don't worry. I'm here for the young people. Old people don't need to know Eminem. You've got Eminem, then you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got Lionel Messi, you've got all these people on Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, they've got followings. Our young Muslims are liking these pages. They're not liking, they don't tend to like. Why? Because there's an attraction. They spend time listening to Eminem's music. Eminem's the individual who takes them into their zone, takes them out of the stress zone. They get sukoon listening to Eminem. That's what happens. He's got problems. What does he do? He puts 8 Mile on. And that's it. Starts listening to 8 Mile. In a closet. What kind of song is that, In a Closet? How does it go again? Don't act like you don't know. I know you know that song. In a closet or whatever. What kind of lyrics? In a closet. This is what it is. This is what music is. If you actually listen to music, what is it? What is music? In the end, what is it? It's just a couple of and look at the rhythmic, the words, the lyrics that they use. It plays on your mind. You memorize more Eminem tracks than you do memorize the Quran. Al-Iyazu Billah. That's the state of our youth today. They know more about songs than they know about the Quran. They know more about Eminem than they know about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. This is the state, this is the reality we're living in. They spend more time on Facebook than they do talking to their own mother. They spend more time on Facebook than they do spending time with their families. They spend more time on Facebook making links and contacts with people they don't even know. Oh, I'm making friends, socializing, brother, we're socializing. What begins as socializing, what happens? It becomes fitna. Look at the state. This is how funny it is. One guy, he makes an account. He puts a girl's name on there. And then he puts a good-looking picture there. And those whose egos are not strong, they immediately send friend requests. And what they don't know is a guy behind it. He ain't no girl. That's the dangers of Facebook. How do you know who is sitting behind there? Oh, just because it looks good, you think, yeah, I'll add. You know what? Increase my friend list. The more friends I have, the better I am. I got 2,000 friends, 3,000 friends. We add random people. Random people are adding. You know, when you put your picture on there, and primarily I talk to the sisters, and I generally talk. When you put your picture there, and you have no haya left, and you put your Facebook picture there, and people see it, and you see sisters, look at the names that they put on there. Flashy girl and sexy girl and all these names they put on there. Then you get guys who says, shot her from Bradford and shot her from here. Just to gain a bit of respect. They don't have no respect amongst the boys, so they think I'll get on Facebook and I'll get more respect on there. They have no respect left for themselves. That's what happens. You know, there's so much freedom that you have on Facebook. You can say what you want, do what you want, no one's going to stop you. You can spread filth on there. Majority of the time, what do our youth do? They listen to a song on YouTube and then they'll share it on Facebook. How often will you listen to the tilawat of the Quran and share it on Facebook? How often will you listen to a speech and share it on Facebook, share the knowledge? It doesn't happen amongst the youth. There's just a minority that are doing that. The majority, if you look at it on the bigger picture, the bigger scale, people are into the music industry, they're into the football videos, they're into the football, they're into the dunya. And they're spreading the dunya on there. But this is a means by which we can spread the deen. We can utilize Facebook to spread the deen. We can utilize it and spread the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on there. But we don't look at it like that. Those who are on the deen, yes, they will use it. But those who are not, those who are on there and they add random people, they do random requests, and they go through all the emotions. Look at how much time I look at it from a different angle. I look at it from the sense that, look at the modern technology, look at the world we live in, how it's just to distract you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The satanic world we live in, just to distract you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they lumber you with Facebook. And then you have this freedom to choose what you want to do on there. You can decide what to watch on there, do what you want on there. It's up to you. You have that free will on there. And we choose to do what? Add random people. We add, I give sincere advice to the sisters, don't add no men on there. Don't add men you don't know on there. Add those that you know. If guys send requests to you, reject it. This is what happens today is, I'm socializing. There's no harm. Look, there's no harm. It starts on Facebook. That's the funny thing. It starts on Facebook. You start having the conversation. How are you? How old are you? Where are you from? Oh, cool. Nice pictures. Yeah. And it goes on and on. And before you know it, you're kind of like Facebook buddies, best friends. She's my Facebook friend. I don't know her in real life. I've never met her. I don't know him. He's just a Facebook friend. And why did you add that person in the first place? Tell me. Ask yourself the question, why did you add it in the first place? What were you going to get? You thought you could get somewhere with it. Haqiqat. That's the reality. That's why you added the person in the first place. Because it was a good looking picture. Look at the freedom that you have. You can do as you please on there. But one thing that we don't realize is that you're being monitored. Even what the conversations that you are having with the opposite sex or people, they're actually being monitored. It's been recorded. When the riots occurred in London, there was one individual who was given a prison sentence of 2 years. Why? On Facebook, he caused a riot. On Facebook. And how did they know? How did the police? Because it's being monitored. They keep tabs on you. They want to know what's going on in your life. They want to see how you're going in your life. For that reason, Facebook is there. That's one of the reasons that you can derive from Facebook. And we need to understand that the day and age that we live in, we can use Facebook as a tool to do and spread good, or we can use it as our own destruction. People have gone through marriage problems because of Facebook. Married men are adding random girls on there, and when their wife finds out, khalas, came over for him. It's caused divorce has gone up since Facebook's come out. Why? Because they get caught out. People get caught out. You should monitor, if you have children, as parents, you should monitor what they do on Facebook. You should monitor it. You should keep an eye out. Because it starts from there, honestly. They say over 7 million people or children under the age of 13 are using Facebook. Over 7 million around the world. And how many over people are randomly, I've heard of instances where individuals, just to play pranks on individuals, they will do the most obscene things. People will put obscene pictures up there. They will have no sharm or haya left. And when there's no sharm and haya left inside you, there's no iman. And when there's no iman, there's no direction. Where are you going in life? We need to use Facebook as much as we need to use it. There was a time when I joined Facebook in 2009 when I graduated from Jamia Al-Karam. I didn't know Facebook when I was in Jamia. That's how much we secluded from the dunya, to be honest. When I left Jamia, I joined Facebook. And you see it. You add people, people add you. It goes on and on and on. And then eventually you get sick of it. You think, what is Facebook? Utilize it in the best possible way and use it for the deen. I go on Facebook, those of you who follow me or those of you who have Facebook will know, most of the time I just put quotes that I think in my mind, or I reiterate the quotes of Imam Bishr al-Hafi rahmatullah alayhi, these things, and people will begin to like it. You get 200 likes. Young people begin to like. This is how we need to use. We need to use it as a tool of da'wah, not as a tool of fitna. We today use it as a tool of fitna. And for us to control ourselves on Facebook, we have to control ourselves first. We've got to have a control over our nafs. You are here for spiritual refinement, to spiritually sort yourselves out. Remember that on the day of Qiyamah, everything will be against you as evidence. And you know this Facebook that you use, you're collating evidence against yourself. And it will be used. You had such obscene conversations with so-and-so individual. You were saying so-and-so things on there. Today there is so much freedom of speech on Facebook. I have people, individuals, who are not of the same opinion in aqaid as me, and they say the most disgusting things on there. About Allah Hazrat, Data Ali Hujwiri rahmatullah alayhi, freely. Nobody's going to stop them. Nobody's going to stop that. These are the cons of Facebook. But it's up to you how you use it. Again, it's like the television. You have the remote control in your hand. You decide what to watch. It's up to you whether you watch MTV Cribs or you watch Ummah channel or Takbeer TV. It's up to you, entirely up to you. It's in your hand. Again, Facebook, now you can get it on your iPhone, on your iPad, you can get it on your laptop, everywhere. Everywhere you go, you can be attached and connected to Facebook. And we need to control ourselves first, our desires. Once our desires are under control, once you can control yourself, then when you go on Facebook, these fitnas won't occur. These marriage problems that are occurring, these fitnas amongst our young sisters, mixing with young men, with young boys on Facebook, talking, free conversations, socializing. It's up to you how you look at it. For some individuals, they're not ready for Facebook. For some individuals, it's their life. That's all it is. It's their food, it's their dinner, it's their lunch, it's breakfast. Some individuals, they are so much on Facebook, they said, I've changed my clothes now. They put posts of like, I've done so-and-so thing. Oh my God, OMG. This, that. That's what they do on Facebook. They let people into their own personal life. I've had this problem and that problem and this is happening and that's happening. Why does it have to happen? This. We should, I believe that those of you who are on the deen, for yourselves, use it as a tool of da'wah. It's a means for you to spread Islam. Use it as a means to spread Islam. For those of you who are not on the deen, who are coming on the deen slowly, then the way you should use it and utilize it is to, as much as appropriate as you can. Start reading the Quran more than look at the state. If you're on Facebook more than you are reading the Quran and remembering Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then there's a problem. There's a big problem inside in our states. We need to sort ourselves out. This is why you're here. This is one of the main purposes for why you're here. To sort yourself out. Analyze yourself. Assess yourself. Where are you going wrong? And spiritually refine yourself. Cut down on Facebook. Use it as much as you need to use it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand what I have said. These things, such as Facebook, this is what leads to behayai. If it's not used in its appropriate manner. It's what leads to lack of haya. And when there's no haya, there's no iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Habib alayhi salatu wasalam, they used to say, Al-haya'u la ya'ti illa bi khayr. Haya is such a thing that it doesn't bring anything except goodness. And where's the haya gone inside ourselves? We don't have haya in ourselves. We don't have haya amongst our people, in our families, in our communities. We live in a time of behayai. We don't have this modesty inside us. There's no shamefulness inside us. Hazrat Usman radiyallahu ta'ala an used to have so much haya, that they would never change their clothes. They would close even behind closed doors. They would never like to be in a naked state. When Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, look at Hazrat Usman was the standard of haya. They were the pinnacle of haya. They were given the title of Kamilul Haya'i wal Iman. He was the one who had the most haya. Hazrat Usman radiyallahu ta'ala an, one day Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was sitting with their companions. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq came in. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reclining and their shin was showing. And Nabi sallallahu continued to sit in the position, in this reclining position. Then Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq knocked on the door. Who is it? Abu Bakr. They said, come in. They remained like this. Then Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab came in. They remained like this. Then Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajha came in. They remained like this. But when the door was knocked and it said it's Usman, Nabi sallallahu immediately sat up. They covered their shins and they sat. And then they allowed Sayyidina Usman to come in. And then they said, the companions asked, they said, look, Ya Rasulullah, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came in. You didn't change your posture. Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab came in. You didn't change your posture. But when Sayyidina Usman came in, you changed your posture. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, oh my companions, should I not have modesty for he who even the angels have modesty for? Even the angels have modesty for Sayyidina Usman. Where we lack modesty, we lack the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, taqwa, one of its meanings is God consciousness. We are not conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala no more. We live our life free of God consciousness. We are not conscious just because Allah... Look, I'll give you an example of you being conscious of dunya. When you are speeding on the M1 and all of a sudden you see those flashing lights go off, boom, immediately the speed goes down, you're scared of the police. I'll get points on my license. You have more fear of the dunya than you have of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the state we've got to. That when you see the police, you're scared of the law. What about the law of Allah Almighty? How many times have we broken Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's law? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatihi. O you who have iman, fear Allah Almighty as He should be feared. We fear the dunya more. We fear what people will think of me and you. We do things to please people. We're scared he might say something about me. Or what is he going to think of me? Why are we not thinking what Allah Almighty is going to think of me and you? Why are we not thinking what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what they are thinking of me and you? This is why we need haya, we need taqwa in our lives. We need to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly stated, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah. O you who have iman, fear Allah Almighty. فَلْتَنْزُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدْ. What have you prepared for tomorrow? What have you prepared for yourself for tomorrow when you will stand in front of Allah and we will be stand and you will be reckoned in front of mankind. Everyone will be looking and your whole life will replay in front of you. You used to do this on Facebook. You did this haram on Facebook. You did this haram on Facebook. What answer will we give? It's evidence. If you say on the day of Qiyamah, I didn't do that, Allah Almighty will say, Al-yawma nakhtimu ala afwahihim. Let there be a seal on their hearts. And let their hands speak. Let the technology speak. Let the earth that they walked on, let it speak. The people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's how much they used to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was around them? The walls would be witness against them. Their hands will be witness against them. What they used to type. The eyes of what they used to look. And what are we doing? How are we living our life at this moment in time? We need to assess ourselves. Life is very short, my brothers and sisters. Very, very short. Tomorrow we will go into another world. We will enter our grave. A new world will begin. But it's connected to the world that we live in. This is the dunya that you plow your seeds. This is the dunya of amal. This is where you gain as many good deeds as possible. If just for one moment, imagine death was to come to you at this moment in time. Ask yourself the good that you've done and the bad that you have done. And imagine that you had to be reckoned and it was put on the scales. What are we going to show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He knows everything, but what will we show? That fear needs to enter into our hearts. We need to instill that fear. And when we use these social technologies and means, we need to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when using them as well. We need to have haya when using them as well. We should use them to spread the message of Islam. It's a means, that's one of the most positive things about Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, all these. That we can spread the deen, we can spread the love of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to every corner of the world through these means. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to utilize things as they should be utilized, with the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in there and having haya at the same time. May Allah forgive me if I've said anything wrong. All wrong is from me. All good is from Allah and His Habib, Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله. इरफान का सागर
पीर करम शाह जिंदाबाद।